First of all, thank you everybody who's joining us. I am thrilled to have you here. I'm Bethany Usher. I'm immediate past president of the Council on Undergraduate Research, and I'm provost at Radford University. CUR has been central to my career, and one of the things we wanted to do as the chair of our nominations, the NLDC committee. We wanted to, in addition to the idea of being able to do the actual mechanics of doing the leadership development, we wanted to open up an opportunity to be able to talk with people who are looking at opportunities for leadership within CUR and to be able to tell you a little bit about those opportunities and to be able to answer questions about what it means to be a leader in CUR and how that helps you both be able to do good service and to be able to advance your career. So we're going to start with introductions and the background of the NLDC panelists that you're going to hear from today. We're going to talk a little bit about the organizational structure of CUR so you understand what we mean by the different positions. And we'll walk through the open positions for the 2024-25 election and what we're looking for in applications for those positions. We'll walk through what that process looks like and talk about what the key election dates are with some questions and answers. I'm hoping that this will take maybe 30 or 35 minutes so that we're available to answer questions for you. So, Pam, do you want to move on to the next slide? So as you see here, the National Leadership Development Committee is all listed on here. One of the things we wanted to do was start by introducing ourselves and our roles, because everybody who's on NLDC has been in at least one of these roles, and some of us have been joking that we apparently tried the bingo card of all of the roles at some time in our past. And so I want to go through and have each of our committee members who were able to join us today talk, sort of introduce themselves and talk about the roles they have played in CUR and a little bit about what they found valuable about them. We hope that that means that not only can you ask questions today, but you'll also be able to know you can reach out to them if you're asking about, like, what does it mean, or how much time does it take, or what do I need to do, or that kind of thing, if you're thinking about applying for any of these positions. And so I'll go in order in the people that I see. So Aaron, do you want to be the first one to go?
Yes, so my name is Aaron Sekulich. I'm at Worcester Polytechnic Institute, which is the other institute of technology in Massachusetts, not the one you're thinking of. I joined CUR because I had a good experience submitting an article to CUR Quarterly, which is now Spur, and that went nice. So I became the co-chair of the engineering division, and that went well. So now I'm the chair of the engineering division, and that went well. So now I'm on the committee. And in terms of what benefit I've gotten out of CUR, this is probably the most pleasant professional organization I belong to. It's always a pleasure to see everybody and work with them.
Terrific. Thank you. And I totally concur. It has been a place where it's been important for me professionally, but also personally. Some of the best people I've ever had to be able to call up and be like, what about this? Have been my CUR colleagues from across the country. Susan, do you want to go next?
Sure, thanks. Susan Larson. I have been involved in CUR really since the start of my faculty career. I was a faculty member at Concordia College in Moorhead, Minnesota, where I now serve as the provost, and got involved in CUR. There was a grant opportunity that required membership, and that's what got me a member to begin with. And then I've just really been involved in lots of different roles, including at one time serving as president. I've been on the board, chair of a division, and really have found it over the years a great opportunity to develop a community of peers across higher ed. I feel like it has really influenced my work. Just knowing people, Bethany and I ran into each other at a conference just about a month ago, and just wonderful networks within and outside of CUR. But I would say I also got involved at the level I did as a way to give back to an organization and part of higher ed that I valued a great deal, right? How was it that I could, outside of the work that I just did as a faculty member, advance undergraduate research? And so I was driven to think about that impact more broadly, and CUR was a great place to do that.
Excellent. Thank you. And Mark.
Hi, Mark Marshall. I'm a chemistry professor at Amherst College in Massachusetts, although I'm not there right now. I'm actually on the other side of the pond in Germany on sabbatical. Um, I joined CUR over 30 years ago. That was back in the day when the National Science Foundation thought that physical chemistry research could not be done at undergraduate institutions, and CUR was basically founded to change that opinion. I benefited greatly from that. And fast forward many years later, and I was asked to run for counselor, which I did. Served 2 terms as counselor in the chemistry division. I was on the finance committee for a lot of that, and was asked to run for secretary. I was the final secretary on the executive board before the governance reform eliminated that position. And since then, I've served on several task forces, and including this committee.
Excellent. Excellent. Did I miss anybody? I know Janetta is joining us, but isn't here yet. Um, so I'll talk a little bit about my journey. I actually went when I was a new faculty member at a primarily undergraduate institution, to one of the grant writing institutes. We called it Grant Camp, at the time, and met some really fabulous leaders who were counselors in CUR at the time and running institutes. And I thought, well, there's a professional pathway that I could follow, and wound up joining her and then joining as a counselor in the undergraduate research programs division, chairing that. And that was a point where it joined that when you were in that position, you were also on the board. Was on the selection committee that very proudly picked Lindsay to join us as the CO, and have also been a counselor in the at-large division, and then have been in the role of the president-elect immediate and the president, and now the immediate past president. So a variety of roles. And Susan was the person I called when I got a new job at one point to be like, what am I going to do about this? And she's getting her oil changed, and I have COVID, and we're busy having a long conversations, and those kind of connections and support happen because you have a whole set of colleagues that come through the work you've done here. So professionally, the kind of work that I've done with undergraduate research has been really important to me, in terms of the kind of work from grants that I've gotten to the work that I've done in terms of leadership, that I've got training. And so I really have appreciated and really want to give back to the CUR community through being able to help the next generation of leaders come through. So, and then I want to make sure, Pam, do you want to introduce yourself, because you are the brains behind all the things that we're actually doing here?
Sure. My name is Pam Dodge. I actually work at the Council on Undergraduate Research in the national office. I'm the Director of Finance and Operations, and I'm the liaison to the NLDC committee. And I also help to support all of our elected volunteers, make sure the nominations and elections run smoothly, things like that.
Excellent. Thank you. And if Janetta joins us, I will break and have her introduce herself. So let's move on to the next.
I think Janetta's here.
Oh, Janetta, you are here. Okay, let's go back a slide for a second. Janetta, will you introduce yourself and your roles in CUR? I may have caught you off guard.
Well, I saw her name and she has now disappeared, so never mind.
Okay.
She was briefly here.
We will give her access when she gets out. So okay, so let's move on to the next slide. If you're new to CUR, actually, even if you've been in CUR for a long time, we are operating under bylaws that were passed just a couple of years ago. And so the organizational structure and the leadership opportunities have changed, since some of us, Mark and I, you here, have come into our roles. So I wanted to run through what they are before we start talking about the individual ways to be able to get appointed into those positions. So CUR's governance is really, and when you look at elected governance, it's the basis has always been the divisions. These are the disciplinary or other affinity groups. So they're divisions that are based around either disciplines or like undergraduate research program directors that are around sort of the role you play. And divisions are led by have representatives, and the representatives are an elected role. Once you get into the division elects its leadership from there. Um, the council is the coordinating body amongst the divisions. And so for every division, there are two elected council members who are not representatives who actually serve in the special council role related to their division. So that's a separate elected role. The other area that you see is the CUR board of directors. So the directors are elected and are directly elected into those positions. You'll see us talk about that. That's a nominations and slate way of getting people into the new roles. And of those, the officers are nominated separately. And so you'll see that we've changed the leadership continuum so that someone gets elected as treasurer, and then the next year they become the president-elect, the next year the CUR president, and then the immediate past president. So when you're electing somebody or running for treasurer, you're actually running to be in the leadership role. So when we're looking at the leadership, there's a relationship between the board of directors, who we sometimes talk about being at the helicopter level, sort of overseeing in general the direction that CUR goes and the kind of overall activities that we do. And the council and the divisions are more programmatic in terms of, and then working within those to be able to talk about the kinds of things that we do to be able to support undergraduate research nationally and internationally. So I hope that makes sense to everybody, and then we'll go through each of the individual roles. Okay. Good. Okay. So we want to sort of walk our way up through the kind of positions that are available. And the first of these positions are those division representatives. This is often sort of the gateway into being in leadership positions at CUR. So everybody who's a member of CUR, and that's, I think, like 14,000 members from hundreds of institutions across the United States and actually some global institutions. Everybody's a member and everybody's associated with a division. And like I said, divisions are either disciplinary, like the chemistry division, or there's their affinity groups like the undergraduate research programs directors. That group is led by, and Pam, you'll have to make sure I'm right, 16 representatives.
The 24
Yeah,
representatives.
24 representatives. So, and so that group of representatives often works, as you can see here, to be able to develop undergraduate research, providing opportunities, networks, content for us, like workshops, representing at your disciplinary meetings. There are a lot of different ways, and so that group of division representatives work together. And so we'll talk for each of these positions about the number of positions and the kind of roles, the kind of qualities we're looking for. And so really looking for people who can demonstrate that they're a capable mentor to students, that they've got a collaborative spirit to work together, and they're good at communication. Each division elects their representatives. So when someone's nominated, then the division elects, that's on the ballot. And so the number of those positions varies because of the people who might be rolling off or rolling on to those positions. So it's often anywhere between like 3 and 8 people at any given time. So those are the division positions. The next one. So counselors, as we talked about before, the council is, if you've been in CUR for a while, this is a new way of being able to talk about this multidisciplinary group that brings 2 people from each of the divisions together to be able to think across the divisions, to be able to think about sort of the programmatic and the leadership from each of the divisions coming together, to be thinking about what are the themes of things that come, and be able to give sort of support to the board in thinking about those big picture kinds of ideas. So there is one position, am I right? There are 2 counselors per per division. So there's one position this year available per division to be elected. So the divisions elect that member. In this case, we're looking for communication, foresight. When we mean by foresight, the ability to sort of look in context and see what's coming forward and what ways we can position ourselves to be able to support undergraduate research moving forward. So that creativity and that collaborative spirit are the kind of characteristics we're looking for there. Okay, the next one. So NLDC, this is interesting. The panelists are members of the Nominations and Leadership Development Committee. We are the national committee that works to be able to get the next set of leadership in for CUR. It is that this position, this body is transitioning from an earlier. So this year, we've got 6 positions available that are elected positions representing 6 divisions. So everybody who gets elected there'll be 1 per division. In future years, the divisions that aren't represented will fulfill the open positions. So we're in a transition. So there are 3 one-year terms and 3 two-year terms available for this. What we're looking for really for the NLDC members are people who can look at CUR as a whole and think about what are the kind of characteristics, how do we recruit and retain people in leadership positions in CUR, and then how do we make decisions. So they've got people who are going to be able to understand how to be a leader and think strategically, to be able to be committed to understanding CUR's overall mission. And you see analysis, time commitment, because there is, especially over the course of a year, there's time devoted to this, and confidentiality. We want to make sure that people are able to apply for these positions or to be nominated for these positions and feel confident that they can do that in a way that isn't going to be sort of revealed to everybody else what happens there. And so we are looking forward to having 6 positions available this year. Next one. So the board director's position, so there are 3 positions available. This is our highest governance body in CUR, and actually but we talk about positive, a positive group of people who are really invested in the value of undergraduate research and also the future of CUR as an organization. And so the board of directors is one way of being able to really give back. We expect people who are going to be on the board who understand the context in which higher ed is working and where CUR sits and the ways we can think about that, but also people who are committed. We talk about having a fiduciary responsibility. The board has the overall leadership of the organization at its heart. And so the board isn't often doing individual kind of programming, it's helping steer the direction of CUR. And so it's important that people have experience with undergraduate research, but they may also have experience from outside the organization that they bring in, because we need a complementary group of leaders to be able to think about a more holistic sort of way of thinking about CUR. So we need people who have been good leaders, who can think strategically, who have good communication. They think about how to be able to make good decisions, so that those are the characteristics we're looking for. All right, next one. And then the presidential path. So I talked about this a little bit before. When you are looking to be, the leader of CUR from an elected perspective, you begin by being elected as the treasurer. You learn about the financial aspects, the fiduciary aspects of being the leader of the institution of the organization. Your second year, you're president-elect, and you notice that each of the roles has a specific set of other responsibilities. So the president-elect serves as the chair of the council. The third year, you're president. When you're president, you are speaking for the organization. You are helping provide the leadership of the organization. They're the chair of the board and chair of the executive committee. And the executive committee is all of the 4 leaders plus Lindsay, the executive officer. And so the immediate past president would be me, serves as chair of the NLDC and chair of the strategic planning committee. But we work together to be able to lead the organization. We meet about once every 2 weeks to be able to talk. And sometimes with the email flying, it's a lot more often than that we work together to be able to help guide the direction of CUR. This is probably the most time commitment, both in terms of the 4-year commitment that you make, but also in terms of being in regular communication with each other and with the executive officer over that period of time, and also being available to be visibly the outspoken the person who's speaking on behalf of CUR, often in many public arenas. It is also a great group of people, and one of the best choices I ever made was when I got asked to put my name in the hat for this and to have the opportunity to be able to do this. It is fantastic to be able to be the person who represents one of the most impactful, high impact practices, and to be able to have that conversation across the country and with people from some of the best students I've ever met to people who are in leadership positions in higher education. So next. Next slide. So do you want to run this one, Pam?
Sure. So all CUR members are encouraged to apply to the available positions that Bethany just spoke about. We have a nominations window, which is currently open. So you can find a lot more details about each of these roles, how to apply on our website. So Todd, if you want to just click on that web link. This link will take you to our nominations website. Here you can find, if you scroll down just a little, that full nominations packet has detailed information about each of the positions, the qualifications you need, how to submit, the timeline. And then down at the bottom, a little bit, yes, you can expand each of those to learn more about each of the positions. And down at the bottom, you'll see these purple buttons. And that is actually how you submit your nomination.
Excellent.
So nominations for board positions are due by December 1st, and nominations for counselor, division representative, and NLDC positions are due by December 15th.
Thanks, Pam. And I see that Janetta has joined us. Janetta, we want to make sure that you get a chance to be able to introduce yourself. I think we moved fast through that in the beginning. Do you mind introducing yourself to the attendees?
Hello, attendees. I am Dr. Janetta Sims. I'm at the University of Central Oklahoma, and I serve now as a counselor with CUR for the Social Sciences Division, and then also serve on the NLDC that you just heard a little bit about. I think you were asked us previously to share kind of different roles that we've had in CUR through service.
Yep.
Do you want to hear that? Okay, well, I had to think about it because it's been several years. So previously I started, like many perhaps, as a counselor, which is an elected position now that's more the equivalent to divisional reps, and then served on the internationalization task force that was a part of kind of a multi-division, multi-unit group. And then served on the executive officer search committee that brought us our current executive officer for CUR, served on the governance task force, where we now are implementing many of the recommendations that the governance task force created. We spent time, reviewing and looking at the current governance structure and then made recommendations. And so now here we are. And then CUR has Connect UR, which is a conference, and there's a knowledge advisory group that helps to kind of review abstracts for the conference planet, that type of thing. And so I serve in the committee for that. And then last year I chaired that group. And then currently as a divisional rep, a counselor in the NLDC, and then chairing a working group for CUR. So there's plenty of opportunities, I think, for you to get involved. It's a wonderful, refreshing way, I think, to give back. And then for those of you, obviously, who like and value not just service, but also professional development, it's a wonderful group of individuals to serve alongside as well.
Thank you. All right. So one of the things we wanted to talk about is also what you'll be elected, like what gets elected and what happens as a slate. So if inside of your division, so I said everybody is a member of a division. What from your division, you'll be asked to be able to elect the from the slate of candidates, the counselor, the division representative, depending on how many, that may be multiple representatives, and the NLDC division candidates, if there's a candidate from your division. And so you'll get an email that says that that you're able to vote. You'll be able to select the candidates and be able to see their sort of statements or important information about them. And then all the candidates will be notified of the election results in April, and the announcement of the election results will be made to the whole membership by mid-May. And and I just wanted to, Pam, do we know when they get the ballots?
Yes. So there is a timeline slide that we'll get to about when the election opens, but it opens in mid-March.
Okay, excellent. So so if you have submitted your name to be if you've not been nominated or submitted yourself as a nominee, then this is when the election will take place for those. And this is an election and they're often contested. Okay. So the next thing we want to talk about, so for the board of directors, so that's both the person who's running for the CUR presidential path, they'll be listed as the treasurer, and the three open spots for the board. So the way the bylaws are listed for this is all the nominees for those positions actually get vetted by our committee, the NLDC committee, and are interviewed by us. So get vetted first, and then selected candidates get interviewed. And then we will, looking at the overall composition of the board and the leadership, put together a candidate slate. And so that candidate slate will be available for you to be able to see on the ballot, but there's no voting. That's not a contested election. If people want to add an additional person to the slate, then 3% of the membership has to sign a petition to be able to do that. Once we have gotten through the election, then the final slate is presented to the board of directors, and the board of directors actually votes for that final slate. And so that happens in mid-spring. Again, the candidates will be notified by April, and then the election results we announced all of the election results will be announced together. Right. And so do you want to do this, Pam?
Sure. So key election dates that you want to be aware of is nominations are open. They actually opened a few days ago. The nominations close for the board of director candidates. So that's the board director and the CUR presidential path on December 1st. And then nominations close for counselor, divisions, and NLDC candidates December 15th. The election that Bethany was talking about a few minutes ago will open on February 17th. And you have up until March 17th to submit your votes. And then we will announce results to the candidates between April 1st and 15th, so they get notified first. And then we'll publicly announce to everybody else on May 15th, and terms begin June 1st.
If you've been a member of CUR for a while, one of the things that has been a change with these bylaws is also that the term begins on June 1st, so that all of the development meetings that happen in June. So as Janetta talked about, the Connect UR conference, the leadership conference that we've got, and orientation can all happen in June, so that new members can be brought on board at that time. So that's been a switch from June used to be when people were finishing out their terms. It actually works much better, and it helps, I think, onboard everybody to be able to have this happening in June.